Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Well, I told everyone that I had a new series coming, Back to the Basics, and I've put a lot of thought into how I want to proceed with this series and what I want to cover. Again, the whole purpose of this series are for people who are new to bushcrafting or new to the outdoors and are just getting into it and are looking for the basics to be able to get out and be somewhat comfortable being in the outdoors. And I've decided that in this series to start with first aid. And the reason I wanted to start with first aid is because as we go through this series, things that we do after that could cause injuries. Knife use, you can cut yourself. Firecraft and cooking, you can burn yourself. So cover the first aid first and then proceed on through everything else. After we get done with first aid, we're going to go into knife use and just cover the basics on knife use and knife safety. Then we're going to go into firecraft and touch on the basics of firecraft. After we get done with firecraft, then we'll go into cooking. You've got to be able to build a fire to be able to cook. So as you can see, one leads into the other. And then finally, the last thing we'll go over is organization. How to organize your gear and keep it together. And that way know where everything's at. But in order to do this, there are basic things that you should think about, basic items that you should take with you and have available if you go out. Even if you're going out for a 30-minute walk, basic things to have with you. First, all of this is my opinion. First is a good pocket knife or multi-tool. And by pocket knife, it can be something as simple as the old tried and true Boy Scout pocket knife. You've got a good cutting blade, bottle opener, can opener, screwdriver, and all. So when we get into knife use, we'll talk about the uses of all those. Myself, I carry a Victorinox Farmer X. And the reason I went with the Farmer X is I like having the scissors as well as a saw. Those we'll talk about more, but there's just so many uses for the scissors that come into first aid and gear repair and different things like that. And then there's also something like the Ranger 78, made by Victorinox as well. It has a locking main blade. It has a good size saw, bottle opener, can opener, two different sizes, flathead screwdrivers, a Phillips head screwdriver on the back, and then an awl on the back. Those are some options for pocket knives. Now, will a regular buck 110 work? Yes. If you're comfortable in using that knife, then you can do a lot of stuff with it. It's all about getting out and using your tools and knowing what their capabilities are and what their limitations are. As far as multi-tools, I've only got 2 multi-tools, and depends on what I'm doing on which one I take with me. I've got a Leatherman Wave, and I don't even know what the model is, but this is an old pair of Gerbers that my father gave me years and years ago. Now, obvious right off the bat, a set of pliers. There are so many uses when you're out that a set of pliers comes in for. Getting getting pots out of the fire, making tools, cutting wire, bending wire, just different things like that. Now, the Leatherman, I like the fact that it's spring-loaded because the Gerber isn't. You have to physically open it up and then close it back down. Now, between the two, my opinion, the Gerber is the better option for bushcraft just because it has a wider selection of tools. But those are things we'll talk about later. Another thing is a fixed blade. That fixed blade can be a $200 custom, $300 custom knife. It could be something like the SE6 or something as simple as a Mora Cansbull or a Mora Companion. Just some sort of fixed blade knife. It doesn't matter how big it is. It could be something like this old Gerber. Just some sort of fixed blade knife that you can use to process firewood, your heavier cutting tasks, spear points, cooking apparatuses, just something heavier than a pocket knife to build with. Another thing is a way to make fire. It can be something like an old match case. This is a replica of a marbles match case. A old medicine bottle with matches and the striker cut off the box and stuck down in there. That'll work. The tried and true Bic lighter. First time, every time. Always a source. A ferro rod. Or the old faithful Zippo. Now this one I've replaced the insides with a butane insert because I got tired of carrying it for 2 or 3 days a week and then getting it out to use it, and all my fluid had evaporated out of it. But just a couple of ways. Don't rely on just a ferro rod. A ferro rod and a lighter and matches. It doesn't matter. Just have a couple of ways in your pocket to start a fire. Another thing I like to carry is a compass. It can be something like this old Boy Scout compass. This one, you can actually turn the outer ring on it and shoot an azimuth with it if you have to. And for size comparison, there's a Bic lighter, a standard Bic lighter. So it's not very big and it doesn't take up a lot of room. Better than nothing, a button compass. It would be hard to shoot an azimuth with one of these. Now there are videos out there on how to make these more accurate. And if you're interested in that, just search how to make a button compass more accurate and videos will pop up on it. But just having something that you can put in your hand and get a basic cardinal direction with could possibly be a lifesaver. And another thing that's great to carry is some sort of handkerchief, bandana, smog, something like that. Because not only can you use this to wipe your hands, wipe your face, blow your nose, but when it comes to first aid, these things have bunches and bunches of uses. You can use them as bandages. You can cut them up into bandages. You can make a tourniquet. You can make a sling. There's just all kinds of uses for something like just a plain old cotton bandana. And another thing that I carry, it's not a necessity, but I like to carry some kind of whistle. There's all kinds of them out there. This is just an old Tops whistle, and I like it just because of how thin it is. Again, for some size comparison, there's a Bic, but look at the difference in the thickness. And you just can't tell it's in your pocket. And the reason I like to carry a whistle is if you do get hurt, say you get out there and you sprain a leg and you can't walk, and you just have to sit there, build you a little fire, or scoot around on your butt and stay there and wait for somebody to come get you. If you yell and scream a lot, eventually you're going to lose your voice. The only way it's ever going to stop making noise is one of two ways. Either it gets broken or you can't blow through it. That's the only two ways it's not going to work. So save your voice. Use a whistle. Wait until someone starts answering you and gets close before you start yelling. And again, weighs next to nothing, takes up no space, and is a lifesaver. Those are just some basic things that I feel are good things to carry in your pockets when you go out. By no means am I saying this is the only things to carry, but these are just some good basic things to think about carrying. It's up to you to decide what you're comfortable carrying. So, next video in this series is going to be on first aid. We're just going to cover basics. It's not going to be an in-depth first aid video. We're just going to cover basic treatment of cuts, bleeding, ways to stop the bleeding, ways to bandage up cuts with a bandana, different things to do to help control bleeding, how to use a bandana and make a tourniquet, different things like that. So, hope you're excited, hope you're looking forward to it. I'm going to pull info out of old Boy Scout manuals for some of this, and I may read it word for word the way it's in the manual just to kind of help explain stuff. But there we go. Could be interesting. Like, share, subscribe. I'll get another video up for you soon.